Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another model showcase. And not one I was expecting to make, but one I'm excited to bring nonetheless. I'll try to keep the intro short. Some of you guys may be aware of 2308, my in-universe James, and I've had a model that represented this for a while, the same one that helped me pay tribute to my brother. And the last time you guys saw him, he had just gained some weathering. Well, as you can see, that's developed a bit more. So let's jump straight into it, starting with the obvious why. Well, 2308 was sitting on my workbench for a few days. I had done some oiling, was cutting back some of the weathering on his body, and really didn't think much of it. I put it to the side and started working on other models. Not too long later, I was doing some Dremel work on another project, and just so happened to be cutting die cast. Well, eventually the blade got a bit too hot and broke. Thankfully, I was dressed for the occasion and had safety gear on. If you're ever dremeling, be sure to take the proper precautions. Trust me, it pays off. James, however, did not have any PPE. I was cleaning up the pieces of the broken Dremel blade only to find out I had about 2/3 of it in my hand. When I found the other third, it just so happened to be under 2308. It had struck the running board and buffer beam. Now, with 2308 being more meaningful to me, this was devastating, of course. But quickly I realized the opportunity, and took the original model basically completely apart. I removed the body from the original metal footplate, and decided I'd finally measure him a new one that would finally allow a pony truck, making this model a 260 and much more James-like. Now, sadly, this all happened pretty quickly. I didn't take very many progress pictures, but I'll still try to explain as much as I can. So the pony truck is added in a pretty simple way. It utilizes a small piece of stamped metal that screws into the first screw of the chassis. This sorta comes forward like a bar and wraps around the pony truck itself, keeping it in place. Both were lightly airbrushed with a lighter brown for some added detail as well. The new running board would be crafted from plasticard, a thicker type, so this was soon cut out and attached to the body pieces. Now, the chassis of a Dean Goods is a bit larger, so a lot had to be removed from the middle section. But once I achieved a flush fit, I added the splashers. The smaller bits on the front of the smoke box were also made from plasticard, this time being a thinner type, and to make the actual running board a bit thicker, smaller pieces of plasticard were added to the bottom and slid back just a bit. Pretty soon after that, the entire model was primed with Tamiya and sprayed a Rust-Oleum apple red. Next followed hand painting with black on the tinder and the smoke box, of course. Then the running board, the splashers again, just everywhere I thought could use some extra detailing. Now, the really tricky part was the front buffer beam. The original had sadly sustained some damage. And I don't know about you guys, but I cannot stand cutting through diecast with a Dremel tool. That's kinda what got us here in the first place. So for a time, he had one that was also made from plasticard, just like his running board. But thankfully, this was quickly replaced. You may not guess it when you see it, but he currently wears a cut-down Bachmann bill buffer beam. And just like the body, this was sprayed in apple red, and also detailed just a tad more to fit in with the model. And speaking of detail, I guess we'll get into that now too, his tinder has the lettering NWR in yellow, and this was achieved with water slide decals. He also features some real coal added into the tinder itself. Now, you can't have James without a number 5, right? And it just so happens you can find that on the side of his cab. The smaller metal plates are actually number 5 number plates. He also features a builder's plate on one side on the splasher, and instead of going my normal route and throwing just a bunch of random locomotive tools all over the footplate, I decided to keep things just a bit more simple. So on one side he has a small oil can, on the other a very small buildup of coal, just next to the smoke box. This helped hide a very small glue mark and is a pretty easy way to help detail steam locomotives if you ever want to. It definitely helped me in this case. And that's pretty much all there is to the model. I imagine if the 2308 story ever expanded, this would probably be the James that was working on Sodor, or I guess it is. That's what I'm calling it at least. It's an alternative take, it's really just for fun. And as nerve-wracking as it really all was, it definitely was a fun build above all. I'm really just happy to see a model that has so much sentimental value see another day, rather than just get replaced. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this little showcase. Now, I know it's not really as in-depth as some others have been, but like I said, this all happened pretty quickly, and I was more worried about saving the model rather than documenting the process. That said, here's the newest version of James, or the next step up for 2308. Still sporting that fat face, still riding the rails, and maybe even a little bit more now, still a favorite of mine. Alright, I'm gonna shut up now. It's running footage time. Let's see this dude in action.
James was a new engine who lived at a station at the other end of the line. He had 2 small wheels in front and 6 driving wheels behind. They weren't as big as Gordon's, and they weren't as small as Thomas's. The fat controller told him, "You're a special mixed traffic engine. You'll be able to pull coaches or trucks quite easily." But trucks are not easy things to manage, and on his first day they'd pushed James down a hill into a field. He'd been ill after the accident, but now he had new brakes and a shining coat of red paint.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.